I would first like to get started by sharing with the public that Zoom is down nationally across the country. Good evening, esteemed and honorable members of council. Chief of Staff Simmons, Deputy Chief of Staff for the Mayor's Office, Stephanie Mergler, Department Heads, Office of Management and Budget, Honorable Sims, and members of the public. Today is Wednesday, April the 16th, and I would like to call to order the Finance Committee meeting. This evening, there is one budget hearing scheduled, which is for the Office of Treasurer, City Treasurer that is, and there is a pressing legislative business matter pertaining to EMS ambulance service that this committee must first handle before the start of this budget hearing. So at this time, I would like to start by recognizing the members of the Finance Committee that are in attendance this evening by doing a roll call. Councilmember Darby. Councilmember Hackett.
Here.
Councilmember Oliver.
Present.
Councilmember Bracy.
Present.
Councilmember Spadola.
Present.
President Congo. Also, I would like to recognize any other council members present. Councilmember Owens. Councilmember Cabrera.
Present.
Councilmember Wheeler. Councilmember Johnson. Councilmember Field. And Councilmember McCoy.
Here.
Thank you, council members. At this time, I would like to present Ordinance number 25-011, an ordinance constituting Amendment number 3 to the fiscal year 2025 operating budget, being an ordinance to amend substitute number 1 to Ordinance number 24-016 pertaining to EMS ambulance service. Ms. Mergler or Director Greco, if you can please speak to this legislation.
Certainly. Good evening, Chairwoman and members of the Finance Committee. In the interest of time, I'll keep my intro very short, but if anybody would like a longer history on this issue, I am happy to go into more detail. I am just going to give a quick overview. Then Rob Winkler from the Budget Office will be going into the budgetary details. And then Chief Looney will give an overview of the operational needs and then answer any questions that anyone may have. If you go to the next slide, please. Trinity Health, which is the parent company of St. Francis Hospital, informed the city in February that they will no longer be able to provide ambulance service as of June 28th, 2025. That was, they were exercising the 90-day clause in their contract that allowed either party to back out with 90-day notice. The city has determined that our best course of action to provide stable ambulance service is to put this function inside the fire department. This will require an additional 30 EMT/firefighter positions. As we are currently conducting a fire class, this gives us an opportunity to efficiently hire this personnel now rather than waiting until the next fiscal year. So that is why we are coming before you today and why we have requested this abbreviated time frame. If you go to the next slide, I will have Mr. Winkler go over the exact budgetary changes we are requesting.
Thanks. So as Deputy Chief of Staff Mergler explained, the city is planning to begin providing EMS service during 2025. And the budget amendment that we're discussing today covers the cost of that EMS activities by utilizing $679,000 in unused funds from the now-defunct St. Francis contract. So because these unspent St. Francis funds are being used, there's no overall increase in the FY2025 budget because of this budget amendment. So the largest portion of those reprogrammed funds, that $513,000, will be moved to personal services in the fire department. The majority of this is related to increasing the authorized strength by 30 to a new total of 186. The cost of those 30 firefighters is that $486,000 you see right there. Now, in addition, the EMS operations will be managed by a battalion chief, which is going to be upgraded from an existing lieutenant position, and that's at a cost of $5,000. And then finally, the insurance billing activities will be handled by a civilian EMS manager position at a cost of $22,000. Now, and just to be clear on these numbers, the funding estimates for all of these positions are based on approximately 2 months of salary and benefits costs, since these only need to cover the remaining portion of FY 2025. Now, outside of fire, the budget amendment also includes $166,000 in MS&E in the IT department for radios, laptops, and tablets for EMS. All right, so that sums up the financial portion of the budget amendment.
Okay.
And, Chief Looney, if you'd like to cover our operational needs.
I wanted to recognize Chief Looney, so at this time you can
Thank you,
proceed,
Councilwoman.
sir.
Madam Chair. Can I ask a budget question before we move on to Rob?
Okay, I want to be consistent and allow him to present, and then I'll come back.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you,
You're welcome.
and good evening. As it pertains to the budget amendment, FY25 budget amendment number 3, our operational needs. The budget amendment provides us with the ability to hire an additional 30 firefighter EMTs to begin their required certification training immediately. We have an academy that will commence on May 5th, 2025. Hiring of the additional personnel enables us to staff a total of 5 ambulances working 24 hours, 7 days a week in service, completely in service by late summer.
Okay, all right. I would like to thank Mr. Chief Looney and also Ms. Mergler for those presentations and speaking to the legislation. And I just want to say before I go to Council Member Spadola that this is not, we're not just hearing about it. Council is not just hearing about this tonight. We have been in conversations for the last, I want to say, month regarding the whole EMS ambulance service, and that the city of Wilmington would be taking it over. So I just wanted to share that. And so at this time, I am going to open up the floor to the council members. If you have any questions, I'm going to start with Council Member Spadola and then Council Member McCoy. You have the floor, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Winkler. And I think you said this at the end, but I just wanted to confirm. The reason the authorized strength increased by 30 is only a total bill of just under $500,000 is because this is only for the remaining 2 months of fiscal year 2025.
That's correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Is that it?
Yep.
All right.
Oh, may I? Hi, thank you,
Councilmember
Madam
McCoy.
Chair. Thank you, Madam Chair. My only question is, I was aware that we will be, by adding a battalion chief, I was not aware that we would actually be decreasing a lieutenant. I was just wondering, what was the reasoning behind that?
Councilwoman, we're not increasing a lieutenant. We're actually deleting that lieutenant's position and upgrading it to a battalion chief of EMS and special operations.
Okay. So, yeah, that was basically, I knew that we were taking lieutenant down by 1, while taking away that title.
Yes,
and
ma'am.
then increasing a title of battalion chief. Okay. And it's specifically for?
It's specifically for the EMS
Okay.
and our special operations,
Okay.
what that involves.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Council Member Cabrera.
Yes, thank you. This question is for Chief Looney. I saw that it's 5 ambulances. Is that what St. Francis was working with previously? Is that an increase, decrease, or the same? And can the city, the calls, can that be handled by 5 ambulances?
Correct. That's an increase. The contract with Trinity Health called for 4 full-time ambulances and then a fifth ambulance that worked what we called a power shift, which was a 12-hour shift. It was 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. We, through our own research, historical data, we feel that 5 ambulance is suitable to provide the service. It's a very busy service, so we're very confident the 5 ambulance will be able to handle this.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other council members? Spadola?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Chief Looney, just to confirm, every Wilmington firefighter that goes through the academy is trained as an EMT and qualifies as an EMT upon graduation. Is that right?
That is correct. That's a requirement of all new hires. When they're in our academy, they must attain within the year of their probation national certification as a firefighter 1 and 2, along with national certification as a emergency medical technician.
So nothing about you taking on the EMS work entirely is changing your curriculum, though, because it's already what you've done in the past.
Yes, it's not changing the curriculum. I mean, our men and women are out in suppression now on our engines, that staff our engines and ladders. They're responding to EMS runs or emergency incidents throughout the day. We're just expanding the workforce to take on staffing 5 units, utilizing what our workforce is now, our firefighter and EMTs. We're just expanding the workforce.
Thank you.
Councilmember Cabrera?
Yes. Chief, normally when we get a call for, I personally, when I called, my son had an anaphylactic attack, the first people on the scene were the Wilmington Fire Department.
Yes, ma'am.
They were there minutes before the ambulance. Being that the ambulance is now coming from the fire department, will that eliminate the need for an engine to go out to a 911 call, or will they still be going out as well as the ambulances?
No, we will continue to respond to those incidents with the ambulance, along with an engine or a ladder, depending on the severity of the call. And that's all determined through our emergency fire dispatch and medical dispatch out at our 911 center. But we will not discontinue that. Sometimes our staffed apparatus get there before the ambulance and make a difference.
Yes, I saw that. I was quite amazed that the fire engine showed up first. And of course, a lot of hoopla in the neighborhood because of it, but you guys were the first on the scene, so I appreciate that. Okay, thank you.
Any other council members? Councilmember Oliver?
Thank you. Madam Chair, I just want to make sure to become a firefighter, you have to be 18. Is that correct? That's all. That's my only question.
Yes, ma'am, 18.
Okay. Any other council members before I put it out to the public? Well, as we know, our Zoom is down, but I still want to extend the offer to anyone that's sitting in the chambers from the public, if there's anyone. All right, so if no other questions, I am going to accept a motion to vote ordinance number 25-011 and ordinance constituting amendment number 3 to the fiscal year 2025 operating budget, being an ordinance to amend substitute number 1 to ordinance number 24-016 out of the committee for a full vote of council at the April 17th council meeting.
So moved. Second.
The motion has been properly moved and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Thank you. And again, this will be on the floor on April the 17th. So at this time, the next order of business is the budget hearing for the city's treasurer's office.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor Corney presented a proposed budget to council on March 20th. The budget proposed includes the following: a 0% property tax rate increase, a 6.5% water sewer rate increase, along with 6% storm water rate increase, a $2.5 million transfer from the Tax Stabilization Fund to the Neighborhood Stabilization Fund to fund the following: $500,000 for the Wilmington Neighborhood Conservancy Land Bank, $2 million for the home repair program, and $0 used from the fund balance. The proposed general fund budget totaled $201 million, up $7.6 million. The proposed water sewer fund budget totaled $95 million, up $5.2 million. And the proposed capital budget totaled $199 million. The proposed budget fund, as presented, has a budgeted surplus of $2.8 million and factors three main items that will warrant much discussion, these proceedings. One, $4 million for the EMS ambulance service, which we just discussed, which will add the 30 new EMS positions and 1 new civilian position and other relevant costs. Second, the property tax reassessment. This is a result of a court mandate that's within the purview of Newcastle County, who authorized Tyler Technologies to perform a property tax reassessment based on market rate value, which is revenue neutral. This may cause an increase in some residential customers' property taxes, and there may be a shift with more commercial properties paying lower property taxes. I look forward to working with the mayor and my colleagues to learn more on the plans for how the mayor intends to establish a fund or to offer some financial assistance, as we know is in the works. And then lastly, the third item is the water sewer rates. While the FY2026 proposed water rates submitted to council from the mayor are lower than the recommendation by the Utility Citizens Advisory Board, this council must review these proposed rates as well as understanding the impact of other rising costs such as Delmarva bills, property taxes due to the reassessment and water sewer rates. The mayor has shared his vision for the intended planned use of the FY26 proposed budget. Now, it is council's fiduciary responsibility to review the budget, have budget hearings with the various departments to get a complete plan on the intended use of these budgetary funds, and then to have negotiations with the administration on any changes that may be warranted to this proposed budget. By charter, council must adopt a balanced budget, and it shall be the duty of the council at least 30 days before the end of the fiscal year to adopt the annual operating ordinance for the next fiscal year. Council has also shared their priorities with the mayor, which are inclusive of public safety, a police accountability review board, a recruitment and retention officer for the Wilmington Fire Department and Partners in Care, neighborhood stabilization, funding for the home repair program, affordable housing, revitalization, and property tax reassessment inequities, community beautification, a citywide beautification for each district, and the Juneteenth celebration. Also, around education, the HBCU funding, specifically for the City of Wilmington residents only, as well as the Office of Educational Advocacy. Economic development, we will continue dedicated funding for small minority business programs. Financial stability, we will continue the water utility assistance program. And then lastly, our parks, we will continue renovations and repairs regarding the capital support for the various parks around the City of Wilmington, as well as ensuring that council's legislative mandates are adequately funded. Before I turn it over to Mr. Jones, OMB, Fiscal and Operational Analyst, I would like to first inform everyone that public comments will be made at the end of each department's budget hearing, and that we look forward to having participation from the public, hoping that the Zoom is up by then. Public comments is limited to 3 minutes. If there is any follow-up information from any of these hearings, Ms. Bassnight will track and follow up on those requests. The budget hearings are limited due to time constraints. I kindly ask everyone to please be mindful and respectful of time. All budget questions shall be of a fiscal budgetary matter only and will be limited based upon time limitations. I ask that if my colleagues have any questions, please raise your hand. It is intended for each department to present Then questions will be slated afterwards. At this time, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Jones, OMB Fiscal and Operational Analyst, to provide a financial overview of the City Treasurer's Office, then followed by the Honorable City Treasurer Sims, as well as for a question and answer session with council. This hearing is tentatively slated for 45 minutes. Please be mindful of time limitations due to there being a scheduled 5:30 p.m. seat-up meeting scheduled in the chambers for the marijuana legislation. Before I turn it over to Mr. Jones, I would like to acknowledge Councilmember Owens and Councilmember Willard. The floor is yours, Mr. Jones.
All right, thank you. Good evening, Madam Chair, Council President, Council Chief of Staff, the Honorable Treasurer Sims, and honorable members of City Council. This evening, I will present the Treasurer's Office FY2026 proposed budget request on behalf of the Office of Management and Budget. Next slide. All right. Funding for the Treasurer's Office is derived from both the general fund and all of the pension funds. The department is requesting a total amount of $7.3 million, while the pension funds represent 93% of the total budget. The general fund represents the remaining 7% of the total budget. Next slide. In the general fund, the department is requesting a total budget of $523,700, an increase of roughly $55,000. Next slide. Personal services increased by almost $40,000, mainly due to the cost of living adjustments, anniversary steps, and annual reviews, with the addition of higher employee benefits costs as well. MS&E rose by $14,250, driven by a $10,000 boost in community services funding to expand outreach and partnerships in alignment with office priorities for sponsorships and community events. The travel account line increased by $5,000 to support virtual trainings, on-site conferences, and professional development, while registration fees decreased by $3,000 to align with prior year spending trends. Next. On to the pension funds, which consist of Pension Plan 1, Plan 2, Plan 3, pension health care, and both the fire and police pensions, are requesting a total budget of $6.8 million. Next slide. Personal services increased by $99,200, primarily due to the higher employee benefits costs and a salary and title change for the former pension manager. The position title was changed to the retirement benefits and pension manager, resulting in a total increase of $63,800 in salaries and benefits to the pension funds. For MS&E, trustee fees for the investment advisor and actuarial services were consolidated into the consultant's account line due to a new outsourced chief investment officer, or OCIO, agreement, resulting in a savings of $63,700 for the pension funds. Lastly, the yearly self-insurance actuarial target for the retiree medical costs and the pension healthcare fund was increased by $250,000, bringing the program total funding to $5.25 million for FY 2026. This increase is reflected in all departments in the pension healthcare account. This concludes my presentation for the Treasurer's Office FY 2026 proposed budget. I return the floor back to the chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. At this time, I would like to turn it over to the Treasurer, Mr. Sims.
Good evening, Madam Chair. Thank you for your time this evening. Good evening, obviously, as the chairperson for this committee, congratulations.
Thank you.
Indeed. As well, I'd like to very quickly acknowledge, I know our Council President, Congo, as well as all members of the Committee for Finance and Economic Development, as well as all other council persons here this evening. I'd also like to acknowledge our directors of OMB and all other directors who may be present or, for that matter, listening in. All members of the city administration, and of course, our chief of fire, who was here just a moment ago, and any other guest city staff, of course, our friends at WITN as well.
Thank you.
It's my distinct pleasure to be here before you this evening to present the city treasurer's budget for fiscal year 2026. So I will be brief. I will not read every slide out of the interest of time and respect for your other obligations this evening. If there's one thing I want to leave with you this evening, that the city treasurer's office, since taking office in 2021 and now obviously in our second term, endeavors to deliver on what you see in front of you, which is our vision, which is excellence in execution. And that means, quite simply, ensuring transparent and efficient financial operations, continuing to uphold the public trust. As I move through these slides, you'll recognize, hopefully, that we continue to try to execute on this, and I'll highlight a few of the areas in which we've been able to do that in the most recent fiscal year, and quite candidly, if I may say, as we endeavor to do in the next 3-4 years. Our core principles, as you see there in front of you, these have not changed. They've been the same for us every year. We endeavor to deliver on these as best possible. Integrity and compliance, collaborative partnerships, strong governance, and of course, stalwart commitment to community as well. Next slide, please. Our priorities with respect to these core principles, tying back to those principles: governance, modernization, efficiency, and obviously outreach. These are the core priorities that we wish to be judged by, we judge ourselves by, and we ask the public to judge us by as well. And as we move through the slides, it is my hope that you will see that we've been able to show you not only what we've been able to do over the last several years, but how we endeavor to do it better in this next term. Next slide, please. So with respect to those priorities, how do you judge us, right? You know, it's one thing to know what to judge us by, but of course, how do we do that? On the left-hand side, you'll see our performance measurements and the results associated with those. Again, consistently over the years, we continue to be judged by 3 core measurements: reducing risk while increasing returns. Again, I know for those who are familiar with finance, that might sound like a bit of an oxymoron, but nonetheless, I think we've been able to do that, and I'm really, really proud of our staff in the Treasurer's office to be able to execute on this initiative. Reducing fee expense ratios, so essentially, the money that it costs us to make the money that we do for the city, reduce that fee as best possible. Last but not least, a commitment to diversity and equity. I know in this environment, political environment, that might be obviously a hot topic, but nevertheless, we stand firm in our commitment to diversity, equity, and I think you'll see the business case, as I stated, going back maybe some 4 committee meetings ago. We continue to deliver on those core components. Very quickly, just to highlight one under each, you'll see for reducing risk and increasing returns, very important. We'll be doing a full review of our 457B plan. We did an overhaul, well, an amendment to our pension plan going back several years ago, which is bearing fruit for us on a consistent basis. We'll do the same on our 457B deferred contributions. On the fee expense and ratios, I think I'd like to highlight for you the second bullet point: 22% increase in savings year over year. So I think we're doing really well there. We'll continue to try to drive that down. Just to connect the dots for you all, by reducing the expense related to run the pension, it also reduces, thereby increases the amount of money available, I should say, to add towards our contributions. And we'll talk about that. I think it's in one of our questions around the actuarial contributions every year from the general fund. So we'll highlight that as well. Last but not least, 2 bullet points underneath our commitment to diversity. In the pension plans, we now sit at 63.2% of our plan assets. That's market value. 63.2% of our assets are managed by MWBE, Minority Women in Business Enterprises. That's a 3.5% increase over year. And of course, we have, that equates to just under $193 million invested with those firms, investment management firms of the city's pension fund. That's a $12.8 million differential, 6.6% increase year over year. So we're making money, making more money, and it's costing us less to do it, and we're increasing our commitment to diversity and equity as we do it. Next slide, please.
Pretty awesome.
Thank you. We'll dive right into the questions. The question one.
Okay, I will pose a question.
Yes, please. Go
Okay,
right ahead.
sure.
Pardon me.
Okay, no, you're fine. All right, so number one, notwithstanding this role of the Pension Commission as defined per city code, but realizing the Treasurer's Office oversees the pension funds, that amasses to 345 million. Please discuss if there are any budgetary considerations for retiree pensioners to receive some type of cost of living adjustment while understanding there are annual budgetary COLAs for active employees. And number A, you can respond, sir.
Indeed. Thank you for the question, Madam Chair. In short, that we do not have a budgetary mechanism to ensure a COLA, unlike maybe on the general fund side where we have step increases that as long as the active employees meet certain benchmarks with respect to performance. That does not exist on the pension side of our program. And so we don't have a budgetary mechanism necessary to ensure it. However, we do have a a legislative mechanism to ensure that it's reviewed. And that mechanism is the Pension Commission, as you alluded to in the question. I included the section of City Code here just for reference, but the short story as I move in, actually I think it's appropriate if I may I move into 1A as I answer both questions?
Yes.
All right,
please.
excellent. You'll see as we answer in 1A, the Pension Commission meets at the top quarter of every calendar year with the charge and the sole charge really of looking and assessing COLAs for pensioners based on one simple criteria, and that is the health of the city's finances. So their ability to meet increases to long-term obligations based on short-term cash positions, if you will. Okay, and so as I blend into question 1A, it's important to note that all of our pension plans, all 6 legacy plans, are administered without any real distinction to each plan when it comes to COLAs. And secondarily, the Pension Commission has not made a recommendation specific to COLA increases to the administration over the last 10 years. I think it also behooves me at this point to remind individuals here and in public that the Pension Commission per code is comprised of myself as the chairperson, and then it's a 13-member commission, and in order to consider COLAs at any given time, it does require a majority vote by all commissioners present.
Yes. All right. Thank you for that,
Yes, ma'am.
Treasurer Sims. Okay, we're going to move on to question number 2. Can you discuss any proposed changes to any of your positions that are mentioned?
Indeed. You'll see we are happy. Every year that I'm here, you probably you're familiar with me now, but we've held open our pension manager position, one, to understand its role in our operation, 2, to reimagine its role in our operation for future state, and then, of course, hiring the right person for the role and making sure that we didn't want to hire for the sake of hiring, right? We wanted to make sure that the person came in with the right skill set, which is a dynamic skill set, to say the least, that fit the position as we imagined it for a future state. And so it required, obviously, some time and effort and energy. So we're very thankful to our partners in human resources for that. The retirement benefits and pension manager, as you see here, as was articulated as well by Mr. Jones from OMB. It was filled as of April 14th. There was a title change. There was some updated responsibilities. It was part of the FY2025 amended budget that went through earlier. And that appointee brings a wealth of experience, both in retirement benefits, project management, and systems control and wellness programming. So we're really excited to have her, and you'll see her articulated in our organizational chart.
Okay, awesome. All right, we're going to move on to question number 3. Can you please discuss the amount of city's unfunded pension liability, and is the city on target for meeting the annual required contribution, which is ARC, which is also now referred to as an actuarially determined employer contribution? And you can just answer letters A through D specifying.
Indeed, yes. Thank you very much. So the short answer is yes, we are on target. In fact, you'll see there every year, fiscal year, that we've been in office, and even before, we've been able to exceed, actually, our contributions, our required contributions. So we intend to do that. I think that is fiscally responsible, and it shows great steward. We have these long-term obligations, these promises, financial promises that we have made to people who have served the city well during their time. They've retired, and they deserve to have their promises met. So it's been our mission to continue to meet and/or exceed. The exact amount of the unfunded liability based on the 7/1/2024, that's July 1st, 2024. These valuations are done every 2 years. The exact amount of that unfunded liability market value is just over $286 million. As I move to question 3A, estimated time frame to be fully funded. On the next slide, please. You'll see that based on the fiscal year end 24 preliminary valuations, that's what I mentioned a moment ago, July 1st, 2024. We're currently 84% toward reaching the goal of being fully funded, which is quite well for a city our size, any city, but definitely for a city our size. We're able to do that because we've had some really good earnings, making some really good investment decisions, and we continue, as you saw on the previous slide, to exceed our contribution every year. So that's sound stewardship. All things even. And what I mean by that is assuming a consistent rate of 7.2%. So that's what's called a discount rate. That 7.2% assumes that we'll make earnings in the market with our investments as a minimum of 7.2%. We've had a great year the year prior, just over 12%, but that's not always the case, as we're seeing now in the market, right? And so we have to use something for our assumptive valuation. That's at 7.2%, and that 7.2% would get us fully funded by fiscal year 2032. Question 3B, any specific policies to ensure safeguards of the pension? You know, when I think about safeguard, I think about preventing loss of capital, right? And so I feel it's very important to highlight that these are market investments that we're making. And market investments do involve the risk of loss of capital. Right? So I pause oftentimes at using the word ensure, right? But to the point about planning and preparation and risk management, I can speak to some of these items, but in short, that's really the goal. How do we minimize risk, downside risk? How do we minimize loss while still trying to maximize returns? That's the thought framework that you want to use when you're making investments. And we encourage our employees to do the same. And so how do you do that? Well, there's multiple ways to do it. Some have listed above here, which is we have a conservative risk profile. As I mentioned, we try to reduce the amount. Yes, we don't capture all the available upside that you might see in the market, but at the same time, by doing so, we also are not exposing ourselves to the maximum amount of downside risk, which is loss of capital. Right? So conservative risk profile. We diversify our strategy amongst asset classes and with different investment managers. Obviously, we use a trusted, tried, true, professional investment manager and advisor to help us pick our investment managers. And then, of course, continuous evaluation of our managers' performance, weekly rebalancing portfolios, et cetera. So we look at these numbers. I work with our advisors to look at these numbers every week to see how investment managers are performing, and based on our investment policy statement, how we're performing. And then if there needs to be a change, we make that change collaboratively together.
Okay.
And last but not least, question 3C on the next slide.
C and D.
Yep. Oh, that's right. Forgive me. That's right. We didn't have 3D. Thank you, Madam Chair. With respect to automation apps for active, non-active employees, the takeaway here is that the information is public. It is available with respect to pensions and the 457B, so that would be our defined contribution plan, readily available through our office or, for that matter, through the web. We have 2 websites listed here, one for state pension, one for our retiree benefits site. We also have through our treasurer's website. And I think the other takeaway here that I'd like to leave for folks is that we're looking to be better in all things, right? So it's excellence in execution. And the way we design it and endeavor to be better with that last slide, as you can see, is a more robust rollout for online and secure access for pension statements and other sensitive data. So we endeavor to kind of roll that out as well. And last but not least, 3D, to specify the last time active employees received their updated pension statement. The takeaway here is that pension statements are up to date. The most recent pension statement for last calendar year, which would have been calendar year 2024, are in the works, and we do expect that those will be delivered by this summer.
Okay, awesome. All right, we're going to move on to question number 4. All right, can you please discuss the planned use of $1 million budgeted for professional services across both the general and pension funds, considering actuals has not exceeded $840,000 the last 2 years? You can answer questions A and B.
Should I include A and, I'm sorry, Madam Chair, did you say include all four?
All
Excuse
three.
me, all 3 questions as well?
Yes, sir.
All right, so in short here for question number 4, all professional fees, as you see there, are used for the operation and sound stewardship of Treasury. So what does that look like? We're talking about consultant fees tied to market valuation, as well as any investment manager fees. So not just the consultant, but investment managers have their related fees as well. So we settle that through our investment advisor and our OCIO relationship, which was mentioned in Mr. Jones' earlier statements. That's an outsourced Chief Investment Officer is what OCIO stands for. So that was also another way which we presented in a different budget. We were able to reduce some of the fiduciary risk that the city was holding. So moving to an OCIO structure where they settle those investment management fees on our behalf, and then we reimburse the advisor. Of course, I think a key here to keep in mind, particularly with respect to the back end of the question, with the not exceeding 840,000, I know that might look a little weird, but it's not a one-to-one relationship with respect to when we're looking at this budget with respect to these types of fees, because they do vary based on market valuation, which is very important. So we do anticipate that fees will increase as we make more money because they're based on the value of the portfolio. So we should always anticipate some kind of cushion there with respect to that. And then secondarily, we also should always, I think it's reasonable and responsible to anticipate the unexpected. And so whether it be for debt management related activities like a bond anticipation note to help cover operational or cash flow expenses, et cetera, those come with legal expenses, those come with other types of closing expenses. So it's really important to have some type of cushion. We've been fortunate, quite candidly, that we haven't had to use the full $1 million yet. But we anticipate, hopefully, as we make more money and close more deals, to be able to do that. Okay. 4A, next slide, please. You'll see a list of all of our vendors, and we just gave a very quick chart so that you can see for yourselves those which are DBE. Those include any debt, cash management. We're really excited about a couple of new vendors, particularly Kairos Class LLC and DB Smith Consulting LLC. Of course, 2 new DBEs as well, or MWBEs. But in the city, we call them DBEs, so we kept that nomenclature the same and consistent. And then, of course, you see at the very bottom, if we go, thank you, the professional services agreements that we do, we evaluate on an annual basis for renewal. Some of them, in fact, are ad hoc. Okay. All right, next slide, if you will. And then last but not least here for 4A continued, excuse me. We wanted to highlight, you saw on the previous slide an asterisk next to Marquette Associates. Marquette Associates is the city's pension advisor, all right? And so part of executing on our commitment to diversity and equity, we've worked with our pension advisor to come up with a custom plan around how we invest the city's pension dollars, right? That is intentional, considerate, and thoughtful there. And so as you see, I won't read it all to you, we have listed our investment policy statement, which was updated back in 2021. And then, of course, we are now proud to say that 63.2% of plan assets are managed by MWBEs, that 3.5% increase we talked about in our performance metrics. And then you see below a breakdown of those specific investment managers. That's 4 out of the 13 investment managers are dedicated specifically as MWBEs, and you see their allocations, their respective ownership class, et cetera. So that data is readily available as well in our pension our pension performance reviews as part of the pension board meetings every quarter. I have requested specifically that Marquette include this type of information and reporting in every pension performance review since we updated the investment policy statement in 2021. So there's a long record there to see our performance, should you wish. And
Very good. Okay, so I believe you just completed that. Is that correct, sir?
yes, ma'am.
All right, okay. We're going to move right on to question number 5. Can you please share the planned use for $25,000 budgeted for community services? Before you answer, I want to acknowledge Councilmember Johnson.
Yes, ma'am. So you'll see there, the short answer is that the community service line item is intended to execute on our departmental priority of community outreach. It is a departmental priority of ours, one that we've been able to execute on and building partnership, stakeholder relationships in the community now for the last four and a half years. And we'll continue to do that. In fact, as you saw in our budget presentation by OMB, we plan on ramping that up associated with some of our internal programming that we'll be initiating out of the Office of the Treasurer starting this fiscal year in 2026. You'll see some of our community partners listed there that we've been able to work with them on an ad hoc basis specific to sponsorships, right? So I want to be clear, we don't make grants to these individual organizations. These are specific sponsorships, sponsoring specific ad hoc opportunities that they may be having from a programming perspective at any given point in a fiscal year.
Okay. All right, okay. Thank you for that. And we're going to just move on regarding your FY 2026 proposed organizational chart.
Yes, ma'am. You can, actually, if we just go right to the next slide, we have our organizational chart here. And then behind that is also a list of specific duties for each employee, which I'll just say that very quickly I'd like to highlight. We have a new consultant that we brought on board. You saw that there. It may be a familiar face to some of you all.
Yes.
We're really excited to have her on board. And she is a gem, to say the least. And so she has been brought on, and her company has been brought on specifically to help us with communications, strategic relationships, some of those relationships I've been able to build out on my own in terms of stakeholder engagement over the last 4 years. So she's ready to take on that. And of course, we have some really exciting news that's coming. I don't want to let it out too early, but I think you'll see the Treasurer's Office really being engaged with the public in a way that it has not maybe been in the past, although maybe it may be proved to be unusual or uncommon maybe to some folks. It is definitely well within our purview and definitely well within our wheelhouse and authority, and we plan on really engaging our city as well as our employees in a new way with respect to finances, their personal finances, wealth management, et cetera. Yeah, and we're really excited about that. So as you see there, DB Smith Consulting will be assisting us in those efforts. And then, of course, on the other side of that, we talked about our retirement benefits and pension manager. Could not be more excited to have Victoria Roth on board. As I mentioned in the review of the position, comes with a wealth of knowledge around retiree benefits, programming, administration, service, systems, which is also going to be a huge part of that role when we redesigned it. Systems management, how we operate as an office, and tying all of this together. You heard in Mr. Jones' presentation, the pension represents 97% of our budget. Excuse me, 93% of our budget. And so understanding how that all works together with the general fund and all the roles in our office is really important. And Ms. Roth will be here to help us tie it all together so that we can continue to execute around excellence.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much, Treasurer Sims.
My pleasure.
For this overview and doing it in an expeditious manner. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And I just want to say congratulations in those areas where there were a number of increases in your budget in terms of how you were able to leverage opportunities, apparently, to cause some of these increases. For example, around the reduced fee expense ratios, those numbers, and the community D and E. I mean, just all those increases. I mean, in terms of how you you were able to make a big difference in those different areas.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Yeah, so in terms of our fiscal impact, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Which is pretty
you, Madam
much,
Chair.
you know, your purview. So congratulations on those areas. So at this time, I would like to put it out to the council members, starting with Council Member Hackett, then Council Member McCoy.
Yeah, I just have a few questions. Treasurer Sims, thank you so much for the presentation. It was wonderful.
Thank you, sir.
I do, if you could dive in a little bit, we talked about how personal services has not exceeded 840K in the last 2 years, but it's continuously increased. And we're talking about the day and age where we don't know what the future is going to look like, especially in our communities. How are we continually increasing that fund? And then my other question we talk about the vendors. I'm not sure if it's stated, you know, I guess we've been trying to look at, you know, compared to like 1 year contracts, but also multi-year contracts where you are annually renegotiating.
Sure.
Are all of them multi-contracts, like 15, 20 years, but every year kind of, you know, going back and seeing like, hey, are we going to continue with this? And then my last question would be around the community support. You know, how are you gauging what organizations fit best for the Treasury Department to be able to be a part of the community support, and how do the community know that your office is being able to gauge in this? We got a lot of community centers today with our kids that's learning about financial literacy that could be, you know, a part of this fund as well. So just wanted to touch on those 3 questions.
Certainly. Thank you for the questions. I'll move through those, and I may ask you, Councilmember Hackett, to repeat one or two, but I think I've got it. The first one around the $840,000 spend. In short, you know, the simple version there is it does cost money to make money because we're bringing on professionals and professional services, right? So whether that be those investment managers that manage our money, that we make allocations to, or for that matter, the investment advisor who helps us in executing our program. Again, we're talking about a at least now valuation, almost $350 million investment fund, right? So that's going to come at a cost. And to my point about the expense itself, maybe in its fluctuation, it is tied to market value. So if we lose capital or investment capital, those fees go down because the investment management fees are a percentage of what's invested, right? So it can move up and down. It doesn't necessarily always have to go up, but if you do see investment management fees going up, then that's a good thing for the pension fund. Yeah, because they are tied, you know, to our performance. Your second question, again.
Was just around you guys, vendors. You know, I'm not
Yes.
sure how long you guys vendors, how you had them, but just
Yes.
wanted to see, like, is it the contracts, like, how are they laid out, and like, how long have you been with these vendors?
Indeed.
You know, we're trying to figure out that as well.
No question. That's a very good question as well. So we do have a long-standing relationship with our investment advisor and our debt advisors. They have helped the city grow our pension fund and navigate all of our debt occurrences to this point. We've not gone out to the market since 2020 for debt, right, for a debt offering in general obligation bonds. That's quite unique for a city our size. It speaks to our priority around governance and efficiency, and working with our partners in collaborative manner in finance to manage the city, be great stewards of the city's money, right? And so having long-standing relationships with these firms actually is kind of what you want to have, but because they understand who we are as an entity and our goals and what we're trying to accomplish. So, but they are annual contracts, and we do review them on an annual basis. In fact, we actually need to go back out shortly. I have conversations coming up with our Director of Finance around that, as well as pension, and 457B for that matter as well, deferred compensation. And last but not least, I think it was around community outreach and other organizations. In short, we try, from the list, you can see, we try to work with like larger institutions because we do have limited capital available. We have not funded. In fact, we're really just now starting to really fund that line item. If you go back and look at some of our 2021, 2022, 2023 presentations, we actually reduced the amount of money in that area and just leaned into some of our strategic relationships and building that out, right? Because this is a relationship management business. It's not just about money. Right. It is relationships. So at the end of the day, what we're trying to do is make sure that we increase that amount to execute on some of these new initiatives. But we do try to work with some of our larger institutions for maximum impact.
Thank you so much for the answer.
You're
Truly
welcome, sir.
appreciate it.
Thank you. I'm going to ask the council members for 2 questions, and then I'll go to the next council person for the sake of time. So Council Member Oliver, Council Member Willard, I think that's everyone. Council Member
Thank you,
Oliver.
Madam Chair. I only have
And
one
McCoy.
question. I only had the one question. One question. Number 1X, I'm going to ask you, what year was the last time pensioners received a COLA? And I'm not asking about any one-time payment.
Sure. So consistent with what we mentioned in the presentation, we don't have a record of the last time that the City of Wilmington's Pension Commission voted on behalf of a COLA.
Follow-up?
Yes, thank you for follow-up. And I just want to make a statement. I just think it's interesting that you keep talking about you hire, pensioners, this pensioner, that, and you can't even tell me the last time the pensioners received a COLA. Very interesting. Because one day you're going to retire too.
Of course. I hope so. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Willard.
Yeah, thank you very much, Madam Chair, and thank you, Mr. Sims, for the presentation. And I really appreciated how you outlined the performance measures and then also your results compared to the performance measures. That really made it clear for me to understand the presentation. And one of the things I noticed is that you've been very successful in meeting your goals, in setting and meeting goals around the DBE businesses.
Yes, ma'am.
And I know that that's something that has been, there was a study for the whole city to do that.
There
but
was.
Not every, I don't know, it doesn't seem super consistent across the city that there's goal setting. And my question is just, how have you been able to what do you think is the source of your success in like setting and achieving goals around this area?
Intentionality. Yeah, we're very intentional in our office about executing on this initiative. That's why we've been successful. And so we work with our partners. We're really clear on what we hope to and aim to accomplish. So we set very clear goals with our partners, advisors, et cetera, right out of the gate. And by doing so, then we build and craft, whether it's through the investment policy statement or working with our advisors around the rebalancing of portfolios, and to find partners who execute at a high level, who provide consistent returns, who help us achieve our other goal around reducing fee expenses, right? And picking out these investment managers based on performance, right? So we're seeking them out. We're being very, very intentional about doing that because it's good business, and it's good business for the city of Wilmington, and it's proven so in our numbers.
Thanks very much, Madam Chair. That's all I have.
You're welcome. Real quick, I want to go to the public to see if we have any comments from the public before we close out. Okay, and as we know, Councilmember McCoy.
I'm going to say, yeah, you keep forgetting I'm back here. Actually, I just wanted to ask a question to Director Sims. I just wanted to ask a question about the COLA. So it seems to me that this is something that has to be legislated in order to put into, in order for this to be looked at. Wanted to know whether or not, would the recommendation come from your office or whether or not we would direct you?
So the code, section 39-6, empowers and constitutes a pension commission to look at this issue every year. Mm-hmm. There are 13 members on that commission, of which I chair. There are 3 appointed members from the mayor's administration, 3 appointed members from city council, and then 5 members that make up, 6 members that make up from our union memberships. Struggle to get that out there. So that's a total of 13, right? And so I want to be clear. This is every year the Pension Commission meets. We look at the data around the sole issue of trying to make a determination on whether we want to increase, essentially, our long-term obligations across 6 plans that are now closed and have been closed since 2011. That's the charge, and use it based on looking at the short-term position with respect to the performance of our budget. I'm not an economist, okay? But I know that from a formulaic standpoint, I would really honestly bring question to that formula. and I'm just being candid with you to answer the question, right? I personally, in my life, and I don't recommend any business I used to work with, to make long-term obligation decisions based on short-term cash positions. Not necessarily sound good financial stewardship. Nevertheless, that is how the code is articulated, and as the chairperson, that is what I facilitate. I can tell you that it has been, I do not have a record in our office of that commission as constituted, which requires a majority vote, issuing a COLA. I do think it also, if I may be candid, it requires a much larger discussion than pertains to just the pension commission. And I can tell you, as the treasurer and chair of the commission, I endeavor to work with a new administration about really revisiting not just the policy itself, but how we actually execute it.
Thank you.
Thank you,
May I
Treasurer.
just make one comment? Oh.
Yes.
Oh, no, I just wanted to make a comment and state, I thank the treasurer, his department for managing our pensions conservatively, as especially with this unstable market that we're seeing right now, and that I know that it's hard to basically insure, but you are trying to protect the fund, those funds for our retirees as best as you can.
I am,
So I
yes.
just want to say thank you, and also welcome to your new retirement and pension manager, since you just started Monday.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, we're excited to have her.
Absolutely.
Indeed. Thank you for the record.
Yes, absolutely.
One more thing to
And
say for the
so
record.
I want to say to Council Member McCoy, I know I can't say too much because I'm not sure if the session was executive or not, but I will tell you that there was a broad discussion in terms of what we can do for pensioners.
Yes, ma'am.
And that conversation is going to continue. And so for those council members that may be thinking about that, I just wanted to share that, yes, it is a broader discussion and it's continuing. I only attended, I think, one meeting so far for the pensioners annually.
It is,
But
yeah.
far
Which
as
brings its own set of challenges. It's an annual meeting.
Yes.
But if I may, we're here and stand ready
Yes.
to work with you at City Council and obviously the administration to execute on that.
Absolutely. So,
Yeah, can I just?
Ms. Bass Knight.
Yes, thanks. I just want to just add one more point is that Councilwoman Harley will be working with the administration on a new piece of legislation to see how that can be done differently. I do know since I've been tenured here, I believe there possibly may have been just one small increase. But it's just very important that when the commission meets in January, they normally are sharing the fiscal condition of the city. So by the time that happens one time in a year, the fiscal condition typically is not good. I mean, based upon the meetings that I have attended, or that's what has been shared. So I just want to just mention that just to provide some clarity. And that commission does meet once a year unless a recommendation is made. If a recommendation is made, then there needs to be another meeting of the Pension Commission.
That's correct. That recommendation would come from a majority vote at the time of the meeting. And yes, you're 1,000% correct. Section 39-6.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Bass Knight. And lastly, Councilmember Hackett, and then we're going to be moving on.
Yeah, I'll make it real quick. I just want to, for the record, FY 2023, there was nothing in the medical costs. FY 2024, nothing. And then FY 2025, the $5 million appeared. And I'm guessing that's the insurance, or if you could go over that for me and explain that.
Oh, no. So every year we increase by $250,000. So that's a dedicated set dollar amount that we do, again, budgeting conservatively in that case to cover those costs. Yes, sir. So the new balance is that $5 million, but it's $250,000 every year.
But I'm saying, I guess what I'm saying is like, what is that for the public to understand? Like, what does that $5 million go to?
Sure.
And why is it being increased
So,
to $250 every year?
Indeed. So the short story is around medical care, healthcare costs, et cetera, with respect to pensioners. So we want to make sure that we're contributing to that to cover any additional costs, employer contributions.
Thank you.
You're welcome, sir.
Okay. All right, thank you. So I want to thank Mr. Jones, first of all, the operational analyst, and you as well, Honorable Sims, for presenting this evening. and all the information that you were able to share with us. And I just want to mention that if we have any follow-up information, we would like to ask that anyone that have any follow-ups to start with submitting it to Ms. Bassnight, first and foremost. And I also want to thank OMB, Mr. Greco, and his team on this evening, department heads, WITN, our council staff, and members of the public. I want to just mention that the next budget hearing is going to be scheduled for Monday, April the 21st at 4:30 p.m. The three departments that will be presenting is Parks and Recreation, the Mayor's Office of Economic and Development, and the Office of Information Technology. I would also like to remind everyone you can please tune in to WITN Channel 22 to watch the meeting. You can also watch it online at www.witn22.org. And lastly, the budget information is also available at www.wilmingtondebudget.org. And having said that, I would like to accept a motion to adjourn.
I'll move to adjourn.
Second.
Thank you. Thank you. And good evening, everyone, and we're getting ready to move into the CDOP committee meeting at this time
Thank you, Madam Chair.
with Councilmember Cabrera.